Namaskar. Welcome to Organiser this week. This week's edition gets deep into Bharat's most decisive internal security movement, the final march towards a Naxal-Free Bharat. From the Home Minister's strategic blueprint to ground reports from Bastar and first-hand testimonies of former Maoists, Organiser brings you a full 360-degree picture of how the red shadow is fading from Bharat's heartland. So let's begin with this week's headlines. Union Home Minister Amit Shah lays out the roadmap for Naxal-Free Bharat. Dr. Binay Kumar Singh explains how decisive governance and intelligence reform dismantled Maoist strongholds. Nishant Azad's Bastar report on how former liberated zone now echo with development. We also bring you exclusive interview of Chhattisgarh CM Vishnu Deo, who says that Bastar today echoes not with gunfire but with development. And Praful Ketkar's hard-hitting editorial writes, while rooting out red terror is central to democracy. In the cover story, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, addressing Bharat Manthan 2025 in New Delhi, declared that by March 31st, 2026, Bharat will be completely free of Naxalism. The cover story, written from his speech transcript, captures the government's unwavering resolve to pair ruthless strategy with the red carpet rehabilitation. Between 2014 to 2024, civilian fatalities have been dropped by 74% and security forces casualties by up to 73%. More than 12,000 kilometers of roads, 5,000 mobile towers and 1,000 bank branches now connect tribal belts once controlled by Maoists. Amit Shah's message is categorical. Those who lay down arms are welcome. Those who kill innocents will be neutralized. He reminded left-wing sympathizers that ideological justification for violence is itself violence against democracy. Dr. Binay Kumar Singh, the director of the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation, traces the ideological and administrative turnaround that has brought Maoism to its knees. This piece recounts how Maoists' own internal meetings, minutes from 2015, calling the Modi government the existential threat, marked the beginning of their decline. Under Shah's leadership, counter-insurgency shifted from reaction to mission mode governance. The article underscores that ABVP students once killed by Maoists are now remembered as a moral impetus for today's campaign. Quoting Dr. Mohan Bhagwat and Prime Minister Modi, Singh frames the transformation as a civilizational correction, from red terror to national resurgence. Organiser senior assistant editor Nishant Azad travelled through Sukma and Dantewada to bring the real faces of liberation. Once branded liberated zone, these areas now breathe in freedom. Former Maoist commander Vanita Sodhi, who spent 18 years in the jungle and was involved in the Rani Bodli massacre, today guards the Home Minister as part of the District Reserve Guard. In Jagargunda, the Indian Overseas Bank reopened after 25 years, reviving Asia's largest tamarind market. Children once abducted are back in school, local girls like Tati Kamla and Parvati Nag working as banking correspondents. Azad's ground report paints vivid portraits of change. Buses in Purvati, CRPF Gurukuls buzzing with kids and surrendered fighters now wearing the DRG uniform to protect their own villages. Next, in an exclusive interview to Organiser, Chhattisgarh Chief Minister emphasizes that the state is on track to meet the March 2026 target. He reveals that in the past year alone, 477 Naxalites have been neutralized, over 1,700 have been arrested and 1,800 have surrendered. The flagship Niyat Nela Nar Yojana now extends to a 10-kilometer radius around security camps, reaching 327 villages in 5 districts. Sai also adds that Bastar today echoes not with gunfire but with development. He credits close coordination between centre and the state government and assures that tribal rehabilitation remains the core of Chhattisgarh's governance model. In this week's editorial, editor Praful Ketkar connects Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's 1954 warning about communism as a forest fire to today's final battle against red terror. Ketkar argues that true freedom means liberating people from both colonial and communist bondage. He writes that unless we liberate the land occupied by self-proclaimed revolutionaries and their urban masters, real independence cannot be ensured. The editorial frames this movement not merely as a security achievement, but as Bharat's civilizational course correction. From fear to freedom, the statistics tell a story of a nation healing from its wounds through strength and sensitivity. In the concluding part of the Organiser's extensive cover story package, senior defense analyst Pathikrit reminds us that while the guns are falling silent, the ideological war against Maoism is far from over. Titled "The War is Far From Over," Pathikrit articles argues that even as operations like Black Forest and Octopus decimate armed cadres, the real challenge lies in neutralizing the urban Naxal network that supply money, legal aid and propaganda and intellectual cover to violate. He notes that decades of left-wing infiltration into academia, NGOs, and cultural spaces created a mindset that justified bloodshed as a revolution. Eliminating Maoism, he says, therefore requires not just security operations, but a comprehensive psychological and informative offensive, exposing false narratives, empowering surrendered cadres to speak, and reclaiming young minds through education and employment. Moving forward, in this domestic analysis, Organiser examines how genuine inclusion initiatives are being hijacked by performative outrage. The future notes how reservation debates, diversity quotas, and campus politics are increasingly shaped by intimidation rather than introspection. It contrasts token activism with on-ground outreach programs that genuinely uplift marginalized communities, concluding that outrage without empathy divides, outreach heals. This week's culture feature explores how Indian temples have always embodied ecological wisdom. From sacred groves to water tank architecture, temples were designed as living ecosystems, protecting biodiversities and sustaining local communities. The article reminds us that ancient faith was the first environmental character, long before modern climate conference. From the front lines of relief to the quiet corners of rehabilitation, Organiser documents the incredible work of RSS swamsevaks across disaster zones, whether in the recent Sikkim floods, Odisha cyclones, or Manipur relief camps. These volunteers demonstrate the spirit of Sewa Parmo Dharma. The story salutes their discipline, teamwork, and silent service that never seeks credit and only results. Sherin Doje Lakruk from Ladakh talks about how constitutional safeguards for Ladakh under the 6th schedule is about identity preservation and not just politics. He says that without local empowerment, the spirit of unity remains incomplete. Both these interviews of Kavinder Gupta and Sherin project how border regions are asserting development-centric, nationalistic voices rooting in cultural pride rather than separatism. This investigative feature chronicles India's porous border challenges, from illegal migration in Bengal and Assam to trafficking networks in the northeast. It calls for technological surveillance, fencing modernization, and coordinated diplomacy with neighbors, warning that unchecked demography shifts can threaten internal securities. This week's readers also echo a shared sentiment, pride in the decisive national will that is turning Bharat security into Bharat's resurgence. Letters from across states celebrate the transformation of Bastar and the reformation of cultural roots through service, faith, and national first governments. From landmines to football fields, from fear to freedom, this week's Organiser chronicles a defining transition in Bharat's journey. The message is clear: Red Terror is dying, Bharat's spirit is thriving. Read the complete stories in the October 19 edition of Organiser Weekly on www.organiser.org. Follow eOrganiser on social media for daily updates. Until next week, this is Sonam Singh signing off from Organiser This Week. Thank you for watching.